I was staring at my phone in the Home Depot parking lot when my entire world collapsed into a single text message. Babe, I can't wait until Thursday. Tell him you're visiting your sister again. The message wasn't meant for me. It came from my wife Emma's phone, or rather, from the cloud backup I'd set up years ago when we got our family plan. The notification had popped up on my tablet while I was pricing lumber for our deck renovation. Our deck. The one she'd been so excited about. The one we were supposed to build together. My hands went numb. The tablet nearly slipped from my grip. I sat there in my truck, engine running, air conditioning blasting, reading that message over and over. Thursday. That was 2 days ago. 2 days ago, Emma had driven 3 hours to Sacramento to help her sister Julie with some crisis involving Julie's divorce. Or so she'd said. She'd come home Friday evening, kissed me at the door, complained about traffic, and asked what I wanted for dinner like nothing had happened. The sender's name was just a phone number. I didn't recognize it. My name is David Patterson. I'm 34 years old, a civil engineer for the county, and until approximately 90 seconds ago, I thought I had a pretty good life. Emma and I had been married for 8 years, together for 10. We had a 6-year-old daughter named Lily, a 4-bedroom house in a decent neighborhood in Fresno, and what I genuinely believed was a solid marriage. Sure, we'd had our rough patches. What couple doesn't? But we'd always worked through them. Or I thought we had. I looked at the message again. My brain was trying to find innocent explanations, grasping at straws that didn't exist. Maybe it was a wrong number. Maybe it was some kind of spam. Maybe another message appeared. I'm already hard thinking about you. My stomach lurched. I actually tasted bile. This was real. This was happening. I forced myself to breathe. In through the nose, out through the mouth, like my therapist had taught me years ago when I was dealing with work stress. But this wasn't work stress. This was my wife, texting with another man about, I couldn't even finish the thought. The rational part of my brain, the engineer part that solved problems and built things, suddenly kicked into gear. I needed information. I needed to know what I was dealing with before I did anything stupid. Before I confronted her. Before I let emotion override logic. I opened the full message history with this number. What I found made me want to vomit right there in the parking lot. The messages went back 4 months. 4 months. They started innocently enough, friendly, almost professional. But within 2 weeks, they'd crossed a line. Within a month, they were explicit. By the current date, they were planning meetups, talking about hotels, discussing times when I'd be at work or out of town. The Thursday message wasn't an isolated incident. It was part of a pattern. I scrolled through with shaking hands, my eyes catching fragments that burned themselves into my memory. Better than my husband. Wish we could do this every day. Don't feel guilty. You deserve to be happy. That last one hit me like a freight train. She deserved to be happy? What about our vows? What about our daughter? What about the life we'd built together? I checked the timestamp on the earliest message. February 14th. Valentine's Day. I remembered that day clearly. I'd taken her to Fleming's, her favorite steakhouse. We'd had wine, shared a dessert, came home and made love. It had been a good night. A great night, actually. And apparently, sometime that same week, she'd started whatever this was. My phone buzzed. A new message from Emma herself on our regular text thread. Hey, honey, can you pick up milk on the way home? And maybe some of that pasta Lily likes? Love you. Love you. I stared at those 2 words until they stopped making sense. Just shapes on a screen. Meaningless sounds. But I couldn't fall apart. Not here. Not now. I had to think. I took screenshots of everything. Every message, every photo, thankfully nothing too explicit, but enough to show intent. Every piece of evidence. I uploaded them to a private cloud storage account Emma didn't know about, then emailed them to myself at my work address. Then I created a new folder on my personal laptop and backed everything up there too. The engineer in me was building a case, documenting everything, creating redundancies. Then I did something that surprised even myself. I went into Home Depot and bought the lumber I'd come for. I loaded it into my truck bed, stopped at Save Mart for milk and pasta, and drove home like it was any other Saturday afternoon. Because I needed time. Time to process. Time to plan. Time to figure out my next move without tipping her off that I knew. Emma was in the kitchen when I walked in, wearing yoga pants and one of my old college t-shirts, her blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail. She looked exactly like the woman I'd married. Exactly like the mother of my child. Exactly like the person I'd trusted with everything. "Hey," she said brightly, coming over to kiss my cheek. "Did you get the stuff?" I held up the grocery bag, managed something resembling a smile. "Got it. You okay? You look a little pale." "Just tired," I said. "Long day." She squeezed my arm sympathetically. "Why don't you go relax? I'll start dinner." I nodded and headed upstairs, each step feeling like I was climbing through quicksand. I sat at my desk in the home office the next morning, staring at my laptop screen without really seeing it. Emma had left 20 minutes ago to drop Lily at school. She'd kissed me goodbye. Actually kissed me, leaning over my chair and pressing her lips to my temple while I pretended to review project specs. "Love you," she'd said. "You too," I'd managed. The house felt different now, empty in a way that had nothing to do with being alone. I'd walked through it after she left, looking at everything with new eyes. The wedding photos on the mantle, the marks on the door frame tracking Lily's height, the coffee maker we'd bought together 3 years ago after the old one died. All of it felt like props in a play I hadn't realized I was performing in. My phone buzzed. Work email. I ignored it. Instead, I opened the folder I'd created yesterday. Evidence. Clinical. Detached. Like I was documenting a structural failure in a bridge rather than my marriage. I'd spent 2 hours last night after Emma fell asleep, going through everything more thoroughly. The cloud backup had been comprehensive, automatic. She'd never thought to turn it off because she'd never expected me to look. Why would she? I'd never been the jealous type, never checked her phone, never questioned her. Trust. The word tasted bitter now. I'd found more messages. Weeks of them. The affair partner, still just a phone number in my documentation, had a pattern. Tuesdays and Thursdays mostly. Sometimes Saturdays when Emma claimed to be running errands or meeting friends. I pulled up my calendar and cross-referenced it with the messages. February 14th. That Thursday, she'd said she was having dinner with her book club. March 3rd. Saturday afternoon, claimed she was shopping for Lily's birthday present. March 19th. Tuesday evening said she was at yoga. Yoga? I actually laughed. A short, sharp sound that echoed wrong in the empty office. My phone buzzed again. This time, a text from Emma. "Forgot to mention, having lunch with Ashley today. Might do some shopping after. Home by 3 to get Lily." I stared at the message. Ashley was real, at least. Emma's friend from college. They did have lunch sometimes. But now I'd never know for certain if that's where she was actually going. I opened the tracking app on my phone, the family locator we'd set up 2 years ago when Lily started kindergarten. Emma had suggested it, actually. "Just in case of emergencies," she'd said. "So we always know everyone's safe." The irony wasn't lost on me. Her icon showed her car heading north on Highway 41, toward the mall, which matched her story. I watched it for a moment, then closed the app. I needed to think clearly, strategically. The engineer part of my brain kicked in. This was a problem that required a solution. I needed data. I needed to understand the full scope before taking action. I pulled up our phone records online. Our family plan made it easy. I was the primary account holder. Had been since we got married and combined our bills. The number from the messages appeared frequently. Very frequently. I scrolled back through months of records. The first call to that number was February 12th, 2 days before Valentine's Day. It lasted 7 minutes. I remembered that day. Emma had been in the backyard, said she was calling about a gift for Lily. I'd been inside making dinner. The calls increased in frequency after that. Short ones during the day. Longer ones in the evening when I was putting Lily to bed or in the shower. I downloaded the full records. 6 months worth. Saved them to the evidence folder. My hands were steady. That surprised me. Yesterday in the parking lot, I'd nearly thrown up. Now I felt almost calm. Numb, maybe. Like I was observing myself from a distance. I opened a new browser tab and searched for divorce attorneys in Fresno. The search felt surreal. Like typing, it made it real in a way the messages hadn't quite managed yet. I scanned through results, reviews, credentials. Several names stood out. I opened a notepad and started a list. Then I stopped. What was I doing? I sat back in my chair, rubbing my eyes. The rational part of my brain was already 3 steps ahead. Documentation, lawyers, custody arrangements. But another part, smaller and quieter, was still trying to process the basic fact. Emma was having an affair. My wife. The woman I'd married 8 years ago. The mother of my daughter. I'd trusted her completely. The thought circled back, relentless. Trust. I'd built my entire life on that foundation, and now I was discovering it had been sand all along. My phone buzzed. Another text from Emma. Ashley says hi. We're at Nordstrom. They're having a sale on kids' clothes. Should I grab anything for Lily? I checked the locator app again. Fashion Fair Mall. Nordstrom was there. Sure, I typed back. Whatever you think she needs. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. You okay? You seem off. My jaw clenched. I forced myself to breathe. Just tired. Didn't sleep great. Aw, I'm sorry, baby. I'll make your favorite for dinner tonight. Pot roast? I stared at the message. She was going to make pot roast. Like everything was normal. Like she hadn't spent 4 months lying to me. Sounds good, I sent back. I set the phone down and returned to the laptop. Focus. I needed to focus. I spent the next hour researching, not just divorce attorneys, but the process itself. California was a no-fault state, which meant the affair didn't technically matter for the divorce itself. But it mattered for custody, for asset division, for everything that came after. I read about documentation, about patterns of deception, about how family courts viewed parental fitness. Emma worked part-time at the county clerk's office, 20 hours a week. I was the primary earner. That mattered. I'd never missed one of Lily's school events. Never missed a parent-teacher conference. I coached her soccer team last fall. These things mattered too. I was building a case in my head without quite meaning to. The engineer's mind, always constructing, always planning. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Then thought better of it. Hello? Mr. Patterson? This is Kelly Wright from Precision Engineering. We received your application for the senior project manager position. I blinked. I'd applied for that job 3 months ago, forgotten about it entirely. Yes, I said, switching gears automatically. Thank you for calling. We'd like to schedule an interview. Would you be available next Wednesday at 10? The position was in Sacramento. $60,000 more a year. I'd applied on a whim, not really expecting anything. Sacramento. 3 hours away, where Emma had claimed to visit her sister. Next Wednesday works, I heard myself say. Excellent. I'll send you the details via email. We're very impressed with your credentials, Mr. Patterson. We ended the call. I sat there holding the phone. Sacramento. An idea was forming. Dangerous, maybe, but thorough. I pulled up the messages again. Found the one from Thursday. The day Emma had supposedly been with Julie. I'd never actually called Julie to verify. Never had a reason to doubt. I scrolled through Emma's contacts on the cloud backup. Found Julie's number. My finger hovered over it. No, not yet. I needed to be smarter about this. Instead, I opened Facebook, found Julie's profile. She posted frequently, pictures of her kids, her husband, daily life updates. I scrolled back to Thursday. There, a post from that afternoon. A picture of her whole family at the zoo in San Francisco. Spontaneous Adventure Day, the caption read. San Francisco, not Sacramento. Emma had lied about where Julie was, which meant Julie probably didn't know Emma had used her as an alibi. I screenshotted the post, added it to the evidence folder. My phone buzzed. Emma again. Heading home now. Got Lily the cutest dress, can't wait to show you. I checked the time. 2:47 p.m. She'd be home in 20 minutes to get Lily from school. I closed all the windows on my laptop, cleared my browser history out of habit, then realized it didn't matter. Emma never used my computer. I'd been so careful about her privacy. Never looked at her phone, never questioned her. And she'd used that trust like a weapon. I stood up, stretched. My back was stiff from sitting too long. I walked to the window and looked out at our backyard. The deck I'd been renovating. We'd planned to have a barbecue next month, invite friends over, celebrate summer. I wondered if we'd still be married by then. The thought should have hurt more than it did. Instead, I just felt tired. My phone buzzed one more time. Not Emma this time. A notification from the cloud backup. New message received. I opened it. The affair partner. Can't stop thinking about yesterday. When can I see you again? Yesterday? Saturday? Emma had taken Lily to the park while I worked on the deck. Or so she'd said. I felt something crack inside my chest. Small but definite. I saved the screenshot. Then I went downstairs to wait for my wife to come home. The garage door rumbled open at 5:47 p.m. I was sitting at the kitchen table, laptop open to what looked like work emails. My phone lay face up beside me, Emma's location dot still showing her 2 blocks away. Now in our driveway. I'd spent the last hour preparing. Not just mentally, though I'd rehearsed this conversation a dozen different ways, but practically. I'd printed key screenshots, not all of them. Just enough. They sat in a manila folder tucked inside my laptop bag, which leaned against the table leg. The door from the garage opened. Emma came in carrying 2 grocery bags, her ponytail slightly disheveled, wearing the same yoga pants and gray t-shirt from this morning. Hey, she set the bags on the counter, smiling at me. They had those crackers Lily likes on sale, so I grabbed 3 boxes. I watched her unload groceries, watched her move around our kitchen like this was any other Thursday evening. Watched her check her phone, quickly, casually, and set it face down on the counter. How was your day? She asked. Interesting, actually. I kept my voice level. Got a call from a recruiter. There's a senior engineering position opening up in Sacramento. They want to interview me next week. Her hand paused on a box of pasta. Just for a second. Sacramento? Wow, that's pretty far. 3 hours, same distance as your sister. She put the pasta in the pantry. Yeah, I guess it is. Are you interested? I don't know yet. Depends on a lot of things. I closed my laptop. How was your day? Oh, same old stuff at work. Mrs. Henderson? She stopped herself. Sorry, Mrs. Taylor was being difficult about some filing issue. Then I grabbed groceries. She gestured at the bags. Mrs. Henderson. She'd almost said Henderson, then corrected to Taylor. I filed that away. Just groceries? I asked. Yeah, why? Your location showed you at Save Mart for almost 2 hours. She laughed, but it sounded slightly off. Was it really that long? I ran into Denise from the gym. You know how she talks. We probably chatted for 45 minutes in the produce section. Denise. Another name to verify. Another lie to document. That's nice, I said. I'm glad you got to catch up. She finished unloading the groceries, then came over and kissed the top of my head. What do you want for dinner? I was thinking maybe that chicken recipe we tried last month. Sure, sounds good. She moved to the refrigerator. I watched her pull out chicken breasts, watched her tie her hair back tighter, watched her hum quietly while she prepared our meal. Everything looked normal. Everything looked exactly like it had yesterday, and the day before, and every day for the past 4 months while she'd been texting another man. My phone buzzed. Work email. I glanced at it, then noticed Emma's phone light up on the counter. She was at the sink, her back to it. The notification disappeared too quickly for me to read it, but I saw enough. A text message. Not from me. Your phone went off, I said. Probably just spam. She didn't turn around. Can you grab the garlic powder from the spice rack? I got up, retrieved the garlic powder, and handed it to her. Her phone lit up again. This time I was standing right there. The preview showed on the lock screen. Can't wait for tomorrow. Same place? Emma turned and saw me looking, saw her phone, saw the message. For just a moment, maybe half a second, her face changed. The smile dropped. Her eyes widened slightly. Then she recovered, reaching for her phone and dismissing the notification without reading it. Spam calls are getting ridiculous, she said. They're texting now, too. I didn't respond, just stood there, looking at her. She met my eyes. What? Nothing. I sat back down at the table. She watched me for a moment longer, then returned to the chicken. But something had shifted. I could feel it in the air between us. A tension that hadn't been there 5 minutes ago. My phone buzzed again. Another email, this one from the Sacramento recruiter with interview time options. I opened it, scanned the dates. They want to do the interview Tuesday or Wednesday next week, I said. It would be an all-day thing. Office tour, meeting the team, lunch with the department head. That's fast. Emma was chopping vegetables now, her knife movement slightly more aggressive than necessary. Do you think you'll go? Probably. It's a significant salary increase. 20% more than I'm making now. We'd have to move. If I took the job, yeah. She set down the knife. David, I don't want to move to Sacramento. My job is here. Lily's school is here. Our whole life is here. I know. So why are you even considering it? I looked at her directly. Because maybe our life here isn't what I thought it was. She froze. The kitchen went completely silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. What does that mean? Her voice was careful now, measured. It means I'm keeping my options open. Because of a job offer? Or because of something else? I didn't answer, just held her gaze. Emma wiped her hands on a dish towel. David, if something's wrong, just tell me. Don't play games. The irony of that statement, don't play games, almost made me laugh. Instead, I stood up and walked to where my laptop bag leaned against the table. I pulled out the manila folder. You're right, I said. We shouldn't play games. I opened the folder and set the first screenshot on the table between us. Her face went white. I was at Home Depot this afternoon, I said quietly. Got a notification that your phone backed up to our family cloud account. Thought maybe you'd taken some photos of Lily I'd want to see. I set down another screenshot. Then another. Instead, I found 4 months of messages. 4 months, Emma. Since February. She was shaking her head. David. I called Julie. I placed another screenshot on the table. She wasn't in Sacramento last weekend. She was in San Francisco for a bachelorette party. She hasn't been to Sacramento since Christmas. I can explain. I checked our phone records. Hundreds of calls, hundreds of texts. I tracked every time you said you were somewhere and cross-referenced it with your actual location in these messages. I tapped the screenshots. You were at a hotel in Clovis when you said you were at the park with Lily. You were at some apartment complex when you said you were getting your hair done. You were... Stop! Her voice broke. Just stop. I did. We stood there in our kitchen, the chicken half prepared on the counter, the evidence of her betrayal spread across our kitchen table. How long have you known? She whispered. Since this afternoon. And you came home and acted normal? Like you've been doing for 4 months? She flinched. Who is he? I asked. David, please. Who is he? She sank into a chair, her head in her hands. His name is Ryan. Ryan Mitchell. He works for the county too, in the planning department. Ryan Mitchell. Finally, a name to go with the phone number. How did it start? Does it matter? Yes. She was crying now, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no urge to comfort her. Just cold, analytical distance. We worked on a project together, February. It just happened. Nothing just happens, Emma. You made choices, hundreds of them. Every text, every lie. Every time you looked me in the eye and told me you loved me while you were planning to meet him. I do love you. Don't. My voice was sharp. Don't say that to me right now. She wiped her eyes. What are you going to do? I gathered the screenshots back into the folder. I have a consultation with an attorney tomorrow morning. I've already backed up all the evidence to 3 separate locations. I've documented every lie, every location discrepancy, every falsified alibi. You're divorcing me. Yes. What about Lily? I'm filing for primary custody. Given the documentation I have of your deception and the time you've spent away from her while lying about your whereabouts, my attorney thinks I have a strong case. She stood up suddenly. You can't take my daughter from me. Our daughter. And I'm not taking her from you. I'm making sure she has stability and honesty in her life. David, please. We can work through this. We can go to counseling? No. Please. I made a mistake. I'll end it. I'll do whatever you want. Just please don't do this. I picked up my laptop bag and the folder. I'm staying at a hotel tonight. I'll be back tomorrow to pack some things. My attorney said I shouldn't leave the house permanently until we file, but I can't be here right now. Where will you tell Lily you are? Work trip. Same kind of lie you've been telling her for months. I walked toward the garage door. David, wait! I turned back. She was standing in the middle of our kitchen, mascara running down her face, looking small and broken. I'm sorry, she said. I'm so sorry. So am I said. I'm sorry I married someone I didn't really know. I left her there and drove to the Hampton Inn on Shaw Avenue. Checked in. Sat on the edge of the bed in a generic hotel room that smelled like industrial cleaner. Then I called my attorney and moved our consultation up to first thing in the morning. The hotel room smelled like industrial cleaner and stale air conditioning. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at my phone, the printed screenshot still in my messenger bag on the floor. It was 9:47 p.m. I should have felt something. Anger, maybe. Sadness. Instead, there was just this hollow space in my chest where everything used to be. My phone buzzed. Emma. Please come home. We need to talk about this like adults. I set the phone face down on the nightstand. 3 minutes later, it buzzed again. You can't just leave. What am I supposed to tell Lily in the morning? My jaw tightened. That was the play then. Use our daughter as leverage. Tell her the truth, I thought. Tell her that her mother destroyed our family. But I didn't type that. Instead, I opened my email and confirmed my 10 a.m. appointment with the attorney. Then I pulled up the voice memo app on my phone. I'd almost forgotten about the original discovery. The notification that started everything hadn't been about text messages at all. It had been a voice recording, automatically backed up to our family cloud account. I'd been so focused on the messages that I'd never actually listened to it. The file was titled Voice Memo 043, February 28th, 3:47 p.m. I pressed play, static at first. Then Emma's voice, slightly muffled, like the phone was in her purse or pocket, told him I was going to the grocery store. Her laugh. The same laugh I'd heard 1,000 times across the dinner table, in bed, while watching Lily play in the backyard. I know, I'm terrible. A man's voice, distant. I couldn't make out the words, but the tone was clear, intimate, playful. Stop it, Emma again, still laughing. Someone's gonna see. Okay, 5 more minutes. But then I actually do need to get milk or he'll wonder why I was gone for an hour. My hands went cold. You're making this very difficult. A pause. Rustling fabric. God, I wish we had more time. Thursday was too short. Thursday. I pulled up my calendar. February 28th had been a Friday. The previous Thursday would have been the 27th. I'd worked late that night, a planning commission meeting that ran until almost 9. Emma had texted me around 6 saying she and Lily had already eaten dinner. The recording continued. More muffled sounds. Then Emma's voice, clearer now, closer to the phone. Wait, what time is it? Oh crap, I need to go. Movement. A car door opening. No, you can't call me tonight. David's home. I'll text you when he goes to bed. The recording ended. I sat there, phone in my hand, staring at the timestamp. The recording was 18 minutes long. I'd only listened to the first 3. I pressed play again and skipped ahead to the middle. Doesn't even notice anymore. Emma's voice, quieter now. Sad, almost. I could walk around the house naked and he'd probably just ask if I'd seen his measuring tape. That stung more than it should have. I know you think I should just leave him, but it's not that simple. There's Lily and the house and I don't know. Part of me still. Static. The sound of a car starting. No, I don't love him. Not like that. Not anymore. Her voice was matter of fact, clinical, like she was discussing a broken appliance. I think I stopped loving him around the time Lily turned 4, maybe earlier. It's hard to pinpoint exactly when you fall out of love with someone, you know? I stopped the recording. 2 years. She'd stopped loving me 2 years ago and never said a word. Just kept playing house, kept smiling, kept letting me believe we were building something together. The rational part of my brain, the engineer part, knew I should listen to the whole thing. Document it. Add it to the evidence file. But I couldn't. Not right now. I forwarded the recording to my personal email instead. Then I backed it up to a separate cloud account I'd created that afternoon, one Emma didn't have access to. Finally, I airdropped it to my laptop. My phone buzzed again. Emma. I know you're angry. You have every right to be. But walking out isn't going to solve anything. Come home and let's figure this out together. Together. Like we were a team. Like she hadn't spent 4 months sneaking around behind my back, lying to my face, using our daughter as cover for her affair. I typed out a response. Tell Lily I had to leave town for work. I'll call her tomorrow. 3 dots appeared immediately. Disappeared. Appeared again. You're really going to do this? Just throw away 10 years? I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed, You already did that. I'm just making it official. I turned off my phone. The attorney's office was in a converted Victorian house near downtown Fresno, painted gray with white trim. Professional, but not corporate. I'd chosen him, Brian Lawson, based on online reviews and a recommendation from a guy I'd worked with whose brother had gone through a messy divorce 3 years ago. The receptionist, a woman in her 50s with reading glasses on a chain, smiled as I walked in. "Mr. Patterson?" "Yes?" "Mr. Lawson is just finishing up with another client. He'll be with you in a few minutes. Can I get you some coffee? Water?" "Water's fine, thank you." She brought me a bottle of Dasani and gestured to a waiting area with leather chairs and a coffee table covered in magazines. I sat down but didn't reach for the magazines. Instead, I pulled out my phone. I'd turned it back on during the drive over and found 17 new messages from Emma. I didn't read them. At 10:03, a door opened and a man in his mid-40s emerged, followed by a woman dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. The man, Lawson, I assumed, shook her hand and said something I couldn't hear. She nodded and left through the front door. "Mr. Patterson?" Lawson extended his hand. He was tall, maybe 6'2", with salt and pepper hair and the kind of firm handshake that inspired confidence. "Brian Lawson, come on back." His office was lined with law books and file cabinets. A window overlooked a small garden. He gestured to a chair across from his desk and sat down. "So," he said, pulling out a legal pad, "you mentioned on the phone that you're looking to file for divorce and seek primary custody. Why don't you walk me through the situation?" I did. I kept it factual, chronological. The cloud notification, the messages, the phone records, Emma's lies, the voice recording. I didn't mention how it felt to read those messages or hear her voice saying she didn't love me anymore. Lawson didn't need to know that part. He took notes, occasionally asking questions. How long had we been married? Was there any history of abuse or substance problems? Had Emma ever expressed concerns about my parenting? Did we have joint accounts? "And you have documentation of all this?" he asked. "Screenshots, phone records, the voice recording. I backed everything up in 3 separate locations." He nodded, writing something down. "Good. That's thorough." He set down his pen and leaned back in his chair. "Here's what you need to understand, Mr. Patterson. California is a no-fault divorce state. That means the affair itself won't impact the division of assets or spousal support. The court doesn't care why the marriage ended, only that it did." I'd read that online last night. Still hurt to hear it out loud. "However," Lawson continued, "custody is a different matter. The court's primary concern is the best interest of the child. If you can demonstrate that you're the more stable, involved parent, that works in your favor. The affair doesn't directly impact that, but the lying does. The pattern of deception, the fact that she was using your daughter as cover for her activities. So I have a chance. You have more than a chance. Based on what you've told me, you're the primary breadwinner. You're actively involved in your daughter's life, and you have evidence that your wife has been engaging in behavior that required extensive deception. That matters." He pulled out a form. "I'm going to need some information from you, and then we'll draft the initial petition. How soon do you want to file?" "As soon as possible." "All right, let's get started." The attorney's office was downtown, a converted Victorian with exposed brick and too much chrome. I sat in the waiting area, leather portfolio on my lap containing every piece of evidence I'd collected. My phone buzzed. Emma again. "Please just talk to me. We can work this out." "Think of Lily." I powered it off. "Mr. Patterson," a paralegal, maybe mid-20s, gestured toward the conference room. "Mr. Lawson is ready." Brian Lawson stood as I entered. Mid-50s, gray at the temples, expensive suit that didn't quite hide a former athlete's build gone soft. We shook hands. His grip was firm without being aggressive. "Thanks for seeing me on short notice," I said. "Your message indicated some urgency." He gestured to a chair. "Why don't you walk me through what's going on?" I opened the portfolio and slid the printed messages across the table. "My wife's been having an affair for at least 4 months. I found out 3 days ago. He put on reading glasses and started going through the pages. His expression didn't change, but I saw his jaw tighten when he reached the more explicit exchanges. And you have digital copies of all this? Everything. Screenshots, phone records, location data. I also have a voice recording where she admits she stopped loving me 2 years ago. How did you obtain the recording? Voice assistant activation. She was talking to him in our kitchen. It saved to our family cloud account automatically. Lawson made a note. California is a two-party consent state for recordings, but there are exceptions for conversations in shared marital residences. We can use it. He looked up. You mentioned a daughter? Lily, she's 6. I'm seeking primary custody. What's your work situation? Civil engineer with the county. I've been there 9 years. Stable income, good benefits. Emma works part-time at the county clerk's office, 20 hours a week. Who's been the primary caregiver? The question hit harder than I expected. We've both been involved, but I do most of the morning routine. I get Lily ready for school, pack her lunch. Emma usually picks her up, but I'm home by 6 most nights. Dinner, homework, bedtime. We split it. Weekends? I take her to soccer on Saturdays. Emma does a dance class on Sundays. I paused. Or she did. Now I'm wondering if those Sunday classes were even real. Lawson wrote something down. The affair itself won't necessarily determine custody in California. The court's primary concern is the child's best interest. But it can be a factor if it demonstrates poor judgment or if the affair partner has been around your daughter. My stomach turned. I don't know if she's brought him around Lily. We'll need to find out. Do you know who the other party is? Ryan Mitchell. He works in the county planning department. Same employer as you? Different department, different building. But yeah, same county. Lawson leaned back. That could complicate things at work. Have you considered that? I hadn't, actually. The thought of running into Ryan at some interdepartmental meeting, of everyone knowing, made my skin crawl. I have a job interview in Sacramento next week. Better position, significant raise. That might work in your favor, actually. Shows stability, forward planning. Though moving Lily away from her mother could be an issue if you're seeking primary custody. He tapped his pen against the legal pad. Let's talk about what you want out of this. Divorce. Primary custody of Lily. Fair division of assets. Fair or favorable. I met his eyes. I want what I'm entitled to. I'm not trying to destroy her, but I'm not rolling over either. Good. Reasonable is better than vindictive. Courts don't like vindictive. He flipped through more pages. You own your home? Yes, we bought it 6 years ago. I put down the down payment from savings I had before we married. We've both contributed to the mortgage since then. Do you want to keep the house? Did I? The thought of staying in that kitchen, sleeping in that bed, seemed impossible. But it was Lily's home. Her room, her neighborhood, her school district. For Lily's sake, yes. We can push for that. You're the higher earner. You can afford the mortgage on your own, especially if you get the Sacramento position. He made another note. Any other major assets? Retirement accounts, investments, vehicles? I have a 401k, about $120,000. Emma has a small retirement account, maybe $15,000. We each have our own cars, both paid off. Mine's a 2019 truck. Hers is a 2020 sedan. Joint bank accounts? One joint checking, one joint savings. About $8,000 combined. I opened a separate account yesterday and transferred half. Smart. Don't take more than half, but protect what's yours. He looked at me over his glasses. Has your wife retained counsel yet? I don't know. I haven't been home since Friday night. Where are you staying? Hotel near the airport. You'll need somewhere more permanent if this drags out. Do you have family in the area? My parents are in Oregon. Emma's family is local, but I'm not exactly welcome there right now. Lawson nodded. Start looking for a short-term rental, month to month if possible. You want to show the court you have stable housing suitable for your daughter. He closed his notepad. Here's what happens next. I'll draft a petition for dissolution of marriage and file it with the court. Your wife will be served with papers, probably within the next week. She'll have 30 days to respond. We'll also file for temporary custody and support orders. How long does the whole process take? California has a 6-month minimum waiting period from the date of service before a divorce can be finalized. But custody and asset division can take longer. If your wife contests custody, we could be looking at a year or more. A year. 12 more months of this nightmare. I need to see Lily, I said. I haven't seen her since Friday morning. Where is she now? With Emma's mother. Emma thought it would be better if Lily wasn't there when we talked. You need to establish a visitation schedule immediately. Don't let too much time pass without seeing your daughter. The court will notice gaps. He pulled out a fresh sheet of paper. I'll draft a temporary custody proposal. We'll start with 50-50 and negotiate from there. But document everything. Every pickup, every drop-off, every interaction with your wife. Keep a journal. I've been taking screenshots of every text she sends. Good. Keep doing that. And Mr. Patterson? He looked at me seriously. Don't engage with her beyond what's necessary for Lily. No arguments, no accusations, no reconciliation attempts. Polite and businesslike only. Anything you say can end up in court. I thought about the messages still coming through. Emma's increasingly desperate pleas. Please just talk to me. We can work this out. Understood. My retainer is $5,000. That covers the initial filing and the first month of work. Depending on how contested this gets, you should budget for $15,000 to $20,000 total. The number should have shocked me, but it didn't. I'd already looked up average divorce costs. I'd already moved money around, already started planning. The engineer in me had taken over, turning catastrophe into a series of problems to solve. I pulled out my checkbook. One more thing, Lawson said as I wrote. How are you holding up? The question surprised me. I looked up from the check. I'm managing. You have anyone to talk to? Friends, family, therapist? I saw someone a few years back, after my father died. I could probably call her. Do that. This is going to get harder before it gets easier. You need support. He took the check, glanced at it, and set it aside. I'll have the petition drafted by tomorrow. Plan on coming back Wednesday to review and sign. We'll file by end of week. I stood, shook his hand again. My phone was still off, sitting heavy in my pocket. Outside, the afternoon sun was too bright, the street too normal. People walked past with coffee cups and shopping bags, living ordinary lives where their marriages weren't ending, where their wives weren't sleeping with coworkers, where their daughters weren't about to have their worlds shattered. I got in my truck and sat there for a long moment before turning on my phone. 17 missed calls, 23 text messages. All Emma. The most recent one, sent 10 minutes ago. I told Lily you had to work this weekend. She misses you. Please don't punish her for my mistakes. I stared at the message until the screen went dark. Then I opened my contacts and scrolled to Dr. Rachel Foster, the therapist I'd seen 3 years ago. Her office hours said she was available until 6. I made the call. The Sacramento interview was scheduled for Monday morning at 9. I spent the weekend at the extended stay, working through custody schedules and financial projections on my laptop while ignoring Emma's increasingly desperate text messages. Saturday afternoon, my phone rang. Julie, Emma's sister. I stared at the screen for 3 rings before answering. David, what the hell is going on? No preamble. Emma called me crying, saying you left her. Did she tell you why? She said you had a misunderstanding about some messages on her phone. A misunderstanding. I actually laughed, which came out harsher than I intended. Is that what she called it? She said you won't talk to her, that you took all your clothes and won't tell her where you are. David, whatever happened, you two need to communicate. You have Lily to think about. The mention of my daughter's name sent a spike of anger through my chest. Julie, did Emma visit you on March 8th? A Thursday, about 3 weeks ago. Silence on the other end. Julie? What? No, I haven't seen Emma since Christmas. Why? Because that's what she told me. Said she was driving up to Sacramento to spend the day with you because you were having a rough time. She left at 7 in the morning and didn't get home until after 9 that night. More silence. Then, quietly, David, what's really going on? Your sister has been having an affair for 4 months. I found the messages. Hundreds of them. She's been lying about where she's going, who she's with. She used you as an alibi at least once that I know of. Probably more. I heard Julie's sharp intake of breath. Oh my God. So when she calls you crying about a misunderstanding, that's what she means. She got caught. David, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I would never. I know. That's why I'm telling you, in case she tries to use you again. We talked for another 10 minutes. Julie was genuinely shocked, asking questions I didn't have the energy to answer in detail. She promised to call me if Emma tried to involve her in any lies. Before we hung up, she said something that stuck with me. Emma's always been good at making herself the victim, even when we were kids. Just be careful. Sunday evening, I drove back to the house while Emma was at her mother's with Lily. I needed more clothes and some work files for my home office. The house felt different. Contaminated, like Julie had said, but also somehow smaller. Less significant. I'd spent 6 years here, built that deck out back with my own hands, painted Lily's room twice as she grew out of baby pink and into purple. Now it was just a structure. 4 walls and a mortgage. I was in the bedroom, packing another suitcase, when I heard the garage door open. My stomach dropped. She wasn't supposed to be back until 8. Footsteps on the stairs. Then Emma appeared in the doorway, alone. Her eyes were red and swollen, hair unwashed and pulled back. She looked like she hadn't slept. I saw your truck, she said. I left Lily at my mom's and came back. I continued folding shirts into the suitcase. I'll be out of here in 10 minutes. David, please, we need to talk. We have nothing to talk about. My attorney will contact yours. I don't have an attorney. I don't want an attorney. She stepped into the room. I want my husband. I forced myself to look at her. You should have thought about that before you spent 4 months sleeping with Ryan Mitchell. She flinched at the name. How did you? Phone records. Wasn't hard. You called him 47 times last month alone. I zipped the suitcase. Did you bring him around Lily? What? No, God, no, I would never. Because I'm going to ask her, Emma. If I find out he's been to this house, if he's met my daughter, I will bury you in court. Do you understand me? Her face crumpled. David, I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. But we can fix this. We can go to counseling. There is no we anymore. I grabbed the suitcase handle. You ended we when you decided to betray our marriage. When you stopped loving me 2 years ago but didn't have the decency to tell me. You heard that? Her voice was barely a whisper. The voice memo? Yeah. Cloud backup is a beautiful thing. I moved toward the door. She didn't step aside. Move, Emma. What about Lily? You're just going to leave her? The manipulation was so transparent it was almost insulting. I'm not leaving Lily. I'm leaving you. There's a difference. She needs her father here. In this house, she needs her family. Then you should have considered that before you destroyed it. I stepped around her into the hallway. My attorney will be in touch about custody arrangements. Until then, I'll pick Lily up from school on Tuesday and Wednesday like normal. David, please. I was already down the stairs. She followed me, still talking, still pleading. The words blurred together into white noise. At the door to the garage, I turned back. One question. Just one. And I want the truth. She nodded, wiping her eyes. Why? What did I do that was so terrible you had to go find someone else? Emma's face twisted with something between guilt and defiance. You didn't do anything wrong. That's the problem. You're perfect on paper. Good job, good father. You fix things around the house and remember anniversaries. But there's no passion, David. No excitement. Everything with you is safe and predictable and boring. The word hit harder than I expected. Boring. So you found excitement with a county planning clerk. He makes me feel alive. He sees me, really sees me, not just as Lily's mom or the person who does your laundry. I nodded slowly. Right. Well, he can see you all he wants now. You're free. That's not what I want. I want to fix this. I want our marriage. You can't have both, Emma, and you already made your choice. I opened the door to the garage. I'll see you in court. I drove back to the extended stay with my hands shaking on the wheel. Boring. 8 years of marriage, and I was boring. I'd worked 60-hour weeks to provide for our family, coached Lily's soccer team, planned date nights that Emma usually canceled because she was tired. And I was boring. The rational part of my brain knew it was justification, the kind of excuse people made when they didn't want to admit they'd simply been selfish. But the other part, the part that had loved her completely for 10 years, couldn't help wondering if she was right. My phone buzzed. A text from Brian Lawson. Heard from opposing counsel. Emma retained Gregory Nash. Good attorney, but he's going to advise her to settle. No judge will look favorably on a 4-month affair with documented evidence. Let's talk Monday afternoon after your interview. So she'd hired a lawyer. That was fast. Probably called him right after I left. Another text, this one from my boss, Tom. Hey, heard you might be interviewing elsewhere. Just want you to know we'd hate to lose you. Let's talk this week about what it would take to keep you here. I stared at that message for a long moment. Someone at the Sacramento firm must have called for a reference. Word traveled fast in our industry. The truth was, I didn't know if I wanted to stay in Fresno. Every street corner held memories now, contaminated like the house. The Save Mart where Emma claimed to be shopping while she was actually with him. The restaurant where we'd celebrated our anniversary while she texted him under the table. Even the Home Depot parking lot where my entire life had collapsed into a cloud notification. A fresh start 3 hours away was looking better every day. But there was Lily to consider. Moving would complicate custody, give Emma ammunition to argue I was abandoning our daughter. Brian had been clear about that. I opened my laptop and pulled up the financial projections again. The Sacramento position paid $43,000 more annually, enough to afford a good place in a decent school district, enough to hire the best custody attorney if Emma decided to fight, enough to build a new life. My phone buzzed again. Emma, of course. Please come home. Lily keeps asking where you are. She misses you. I deleted it without responding. Using our daughter as leverage wasn't going to work. Tomorrow I'd interview for the Sacramento position. Tuesday I'd see Lily after school, take her for ice cream, figure out how to explain that Daddy wasn't living at home anymore without destroying her world. One step at a time. That's all I could manage. One step at a time. The Sacramento job came through in April. I accepted it immediately. Emma fought the custody arrangement for 7 months. Her attorney argued that relocating Lily would disrupt her stability, that I was being vindictive, that she deserved equal time. Brian countered with the documented lies, the pattern of deception, the fact that I'd been handling most of Lily's care even before the separation. In the end, the judge awarded me primary custody with Emma getting alternating weekends and 1 evening per week. The drive between Sacramento and Fresno became routine. 3 hours down on Friday afternoons, 3 hours back on Sunday evenings. Lily adjusted better than I'd feared. Kids are resilient that way. The divorce was finalized in November, exactly 9 months after I'd discovered those messages in a Home Depot parking lot. I kept the house and sold it 3 weeks later. Emma got her retirement account and half the proceeds from the sale. No spousal support, she'd started working full-time by then, and the affair documentation made her attorney advise against pushing for it. Ryan Mitchell transferred to a different county office 2 months into the proceedings. I heard through the grapevine that he and Emma tried to make it work for a while, but it fell apart by Christmas. Turns out excitement and passion aren't much foundation for a real relationship. She's dating someone new now, according to Lily. I don't ask for details. I bought a 3-bedroom townhouse in Elk Grove with a small backyard. Lily has her own room, decorated in the same purple she'd picked out for the old house. She's 8 now, doing well in school, still playing soccer. On the weekends she's with me, we go to the farmer's market on Saturday mornings and make pancakes on Sundays. Simple routines. Predictable, maybe even boring. I'm okay with boring now. The Sacramento position turned into a promotion 6 months ago. Department head, leading a team of 12 engineers. I'm dating someone, a project manager named Amy I met through work. It's casual, nothing serious yet. I'm not in a hurry. Lily likes her, which matters more than anything else. Sometimes I still think about that afternoon in the parking lot, the moment everything changed. How one notification could unravel a decade of my life. But mostly I think about what came after. The clarity that emerged from the chaos. The realization that I'd been living in a marriage that had died 2 years before I noticed. Emma gave me an unexpected gift when she betrayed me. She freed me from a relationship built on my effort alone, from loving someone who'd stopped loving me back, but lacked the courage to say so. She taught me that trust without verification is just willful blindness, that loyalty isn't weakness, and that sometimes the person you think you know best is the one hiding the most. I'm not bitter anymore. Bitterness takes energy I'd rather spend on Lily, on my career, on building something real with someone who actually wants to build it with me. Last month, Emma asked if we could talk about reconciliation. Said she'd made a terrible mistake, that she never should have thrown away our family. I listened politely and told her no. Some things, once broken, aren't meant to be repaired. Some endings are actually beginnings. I'm happier now than I was in that marriage. My daughter is thriving. My career is exactly where I want it. I sleep well at night knowing that the life I'm living is honest, that the person next to me, when there is someone, actually wants to be there. The moral of my story isn't complicated. You can't build a life with someone who's already got one foot out the door. You can't love someone into loving you back. And you can't sacrifice your truth for someone else's comfort. I learned that the hard way, in a Home Depot parking lot, on an ordinary Saturday afternoon. But I learned it, and that made all the difference.